Humans of Earth, welcome to AI Snap That. My name is Michael Rollins, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Thanos, he of the Snapdom. And we are here today to prostrate ourselves in front of our robotic overlords, which have now taken over everything. Thanos, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. It's been a pretty exciting 6 months.
Woo! And it has been 6 months. So the last time you and I recorded together was Colin's episode was right around November 4th. So it was a little bit before that. And by the time people see this, they will have seen Ari's episode, which was just he and I, because you were like, once again, vacationing somewhere. I think you were still in Greece doing kiteboarding, or maybe you were in like Belize or something.
That was the November kiteboarding trip, but since I had the April kiteboarding trip as well, so
Okay. Well, whenever we couldn't
two
record
kite trips
for a
away.
while. Yeah. But all that aside, it's been a minute. Like, the world is different. We knew it was going to be different.
Crazy, and it hasn't
Oh
been.
my God.
It hasn't been 6 months exactly, but I haven't had this much fun doing engineering in a really long time.
It is freaking amazing. I love it. Like, I just sit down and I think, I'd like to build 3 apps today. What am I going to do? I mean, it's unbelievable.
Let's
Well,
go Claude.
Well, tell me what you've been working on.
I've launched a couple of new clients,
Okay.
and both of them have been building out with the Gastown Gas City family of tooling,
Okay.
which I don't know if you're familiar, but it's kind of just crazy. You can spin up different agents, and they'll just talk to each other and figure it out. And there's a mayor, and the mayor can still polecats and do work. It's a Stevia
Oh, okay.
project. It sounds nuts, but with the right structures, I've been able to get so much work out of this with really, really good quality. And I don't know, like this thing stops working for like a day or two every now and then, and it's like, yeah, I'm just gonna go do something else because there's just no point even trying to do things the old way. But before times like 3 months ago, you would have to sit over the agent, and like, okay, buddy, no, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. Come back
Yes.
to normal engineering land. Now it's like, okay, like take this gigantic feature. Yeah, okay, this is pretty big, so maybe just write me a spec. Then you read the spec, go back and forth a couple times, and then lo and behold, just figure out how you're gonna break this up into multiple PRs. Just go do it. And in the beginning, I read the code, and then after 2 weeks where I read the code and didn't have anything better to say, it's like, okay, I'm just gonna start reading the code now.
Oh, so like to that effect, our team basically stopped writing and reading code a few months ago. I mean, I was shocked because we have one member of the team that's pretty conservative. The guy's amazing. He's brilliant. It's Chris. And I assumed he was still reading the code. And then one day I said, "Are you still reading the code?" He goes, "I haven't read the code in months, man." He goes, "I just go ask a question and I get like a review of what's happening." I was like, oh, okay, great. So none of us are reading the code, and that's actually how it should be.
Well, but no, in the beginning I was thinking, this is irresponsible. You cannot not read the code because who knows what could be in there.
What's getting in there? Yeah.
But then you figure out okay, well, I can put checkpoints this way and that way and the other way, and I can build my sort of little inspection hatches, right, where you can open this hatch and just look inside there, and if that's not blown up, that's probably deems that everything under here is pretty good, and so on and so forth. I just came back from an observability conference last week.
Oh,
and
please
that's kind of like
me.
It was super interesting, right? Because the idea is that, well, some people said that code is now not deterministic, and I'll argue like, well, code was never deterministic, but now it's like less deterministic than before, maybe. In some ways,
I don't believe that, but
it's still kind of looking in production and seeing what is actually running in production is where the money's at, and I think that just still resonates and gives you some additional sort of inspection points where you can open the hatch and look over here and see how things are doing.
Yes.
And that's really nice, right? Because you can then take your energies and focus them on places that they need to be. Right? We always would say, we need to pay attention to security, and we'd have maybe a once-a-year audit, and the auditor would find some stuff, and we'd go fix the list that the auditor gave us. Well, now for every project, every week, I can just run a security audit, find a few things, fix them. So I think actually the code is more predictable and more deterministic and more secure than it's ever been.
Yes. It's crazy. So in the intervening time, I managed to make my Instagram account go boom And so I put a few different posts out where I basically, the hook is always, Claude writes better code than you are, and I don't care. Claude writes better code than you, and I don't care who you are, right? And I say it just like that, and just it enrages this actually teeny little subset of the nerds, right? And then they get into the comments and they just argue back and forth. It is literally like it. But the thing is it's not rage bait. It's the truth. But it does enrage this subset of engineers that are just like, I'm better than the robot. How dare you? And
It's a hard pill to swallow, but like we're
oh, it
not.
is.
Like
It
I
is.
look at, PR reviews and I can confidently tell you that all the outages that we had, I had personally reviewed all the code that went through in it. Right? Because like,
Yeah.
back then we didn't have robots to look at the code, so you looked at it yourself and everything that went through, I had
Yeah.
personally reviewed.
Yeah.
So, while you can argue relative effectiveness compared to other engineers and whatever, I
Yeah.
think the machines now are much better at that because they can look
They,
at so much more
mhm.
code than we can. So say, hey, I have this new feature. Find where it intersects with existing features, and it can go and do an analysis and graph for a bunch of different terms and keep the stack of okay, this calls this calls this calls this, and that calls that calls that calls that in its head way better than I ever could.
So I have started it, I keep finding my way into, oh, this is really cool the way I did this. I'm going to make this a skill. And so I have this small set of skills that I lean on constantly, and one of them is basically draw me boxes and arrows. I want to move them around. It's like, and it's so useful because it's like out of it is amazing. We you know on the product we've been working on Rex, I made a couple assumptions, or I made a couple of choices early that I knew would come back to bite us, and boy did they come back to bite us. And one of them was that a user and an agent were basically the same thing, and I knew it was going to not be true eventually, but to set up so the system, it's a open claw for enterprise, right? It's safe, it works. Agents go off and self-manage. Like it's really cool. We hit this like I hit this point where I was like, oh God, I not only did I not I knew that was going to be a problem. I did not realize it meant I was going to have two databases to fix it. And so next thing I know, I'm trying to contend with. Finally, I was like, what the like just draw me pictures, damn it. And next thing I know, I have this directed graph, and I'm like, oh, it's that table. This is the table. If I break this table up, I'm good. And I did. And next thing you know, we've separated the concerns.
And it's funny
And
how it's smart enough to build it the bad way and not smart enough
yeah,
to build you a chart that then the human can obviously point to it. So it's kind of super interesting as to where do we find our value add, right? Because I think, in 6 months, it can probably also build a chart for itself and
mhm.
break your
Well,
dependency cycle by
but
itself.
but here's the thing, and this is why the speed is so insane. That decision was made in July of last year. I don't even think we had Opus 4 at that point. I think we had Sonnet 4. And, you and I were just before the show, you were like, yeah, I mean, at some point I just stopped reading. It's like,
It's
it's
crazy.
insane.
I think it's going back to your Insta feed. I think that's going to be a tough pill to swallow for many people. That
It
the
is.
thing they define
Yeah.
themselves as being good is
That's
now
the thing.
what it's at.
Yeah.
But I think to be successful, you got to like eat that and be like, okay, well that's done. Now
Mhm.
what am I good at?
I keep, there's a lot of people that, and these folks, it's typically white dudes, like almost 100%, which is not shocking.
All right, we're gonna
Um,
go there.
No, 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 no. I'm just saying. I'm sorry. It's not. This is. Anyways. All right. We'll move on. We need a little DEI. Damn it.
I won't
Sorry.
piss off white dudes knocking at my door. Why
Yeah.
is Roland
We'll
saying all these things?
we'll fully cut that out. No. So for every angry guy who is arguing against me, and I actually have literally not had a single woman come in and say you're wrong because this. All these dudes, you can tell this is their identity. And for them to admit that the robot is better than them is some kind of loss. But for every dude that's in the comments angry, attempting to prove that I'm wrong, There are 5, 6, 10 other people who are grateful that somebody's just saying it out loud, right? And I actually get a lot of messages from new grads. They're like, what the hell do I do? What do I do? And I've told them, I'm like, you got to go build things. Like, it's the only way that you can do this right now, because they're in this really nasty transition phase where all of the people who are still convinced that they're the best are kind of still in control. And they don't know that they're on their way out the door yet. And so for new grads, I mean, dude, it's a rough time. Of course, I graduated and was looking for a job in 2003. So I went through this then
people.
too. That was tough. That was tough. So
I'll tell
anyways,
you a related funny story with finding where your value's at. The short version of it is I built myself a dashboard that has all my open pull requests across all the projects,
I just did
with
this.
green and red buttons if they're ready.
Yes.
Because people were sending me stuff to kind of like eyeball, and I like it didn't pass 3 basic checks. So now I had a button that says, okay, this doesn't pass the buttons. Press the button, and the AI gave me text to copy that would go back to the ticket and it'd be done. Or it would give me text to go to the AI, say, okay, this PR doesn't pass because of this, go fix that. And at some point, the obvious thing came to mind. It was just like, well, I can't just
let the robot
make the button, just tell the AI or tell the person, and I don't have to really be in the middle. It can just go in the loop. And then the thought
funny.
crossed my mind for about 1 second of it. And then what am I going to do in this thing?
I'm out of view.
If I'm not copy pasting stuff to the bots, what's my role?
What's my job? I've had
Got
a few
over
of
that
those-
pretty quick, but it was funny for a second to be like, well, yeah, copy pasting was where my value add was. Yeah.
My moment. So I have been on this ever desperate, I don't know if it's desperate, probably frenzied search for us to be able to have a bug report come in through Slack and have an agent pick it up, verify it, fix it, merge it, and deploy it without a single person knowing. That is my goal.
The merge and deploy it is bold.
And that's the thing, is it's like we've actually end to end, we've run it all the way up to deploy. But the deploy part is the part that like, and so I sat down and I was like, how do I get comfortable with this? And so effectively what I did was I ripped out our entire testing infrastructure and put a brand new testing infrastructure in. There's like 14, 15 different types of checks. Not all of them are tests. 14 or 15 different types of checks. And when the agents are running, when they're writing the code, they will wait for the build, they wait for all the tests, and then they pick up the results and they just keep iterating. And it has been like, every time I try to take one of these step changes, I find out that the system breaks again. Because it's like there's a scale here that's insane. I've been able to launch. So now what I've been doing is anytime we run into some situation, we drop a GitHub issue. And then I have a skill that I can start up a single Claude session. And I say, go grab issues, go grab these 20 issues. And I want you to fix them. And it will spin up another Claude instance at the same time. So it fans them out into iTerms. And then the overarching one just kind of rides herd on them. And I started locking up our infrastructure because I'm landing so many PRs that the system can't keep up. And I started finding out that we had these failures I didn't even know about, where we had race conditions and deadlocks, and the only way to expose them was to literally blast the entire system with PRs. And it's so much fun. So then I went in and fixed them all.
Like, even if you don't, like, I don't have, in most projects, I don't have the merge and deploy part automatically.
We don't
What
either
I'm working
yet.
on is working on the, can you pick up the work and propose something? Because you don't want to read the code, but I'll read the PR description that will have like the rationale for why this change is there. And I'll look at the files. Wait, like, you're just fixing this point thing. Why is this 30 files changed? So I think if we can start closing some of these loops, right, we can go to Sentry and figure out what's crashing and propose something. Go to Linear, figure out what's happening and propose something. We'll build that expertise, and soon enough we'll be able to say, okay, these are the checks that I need to be able to like fully close the loop and say, now we've done this long enough that I trust you to do it. And maybe some end-to-end tests where you don't run them all the time, but you have like a test suite for given areas, and when you touch something in an area, then the bot knows to run the test suite in that area.
I rely so heavily on the end-to-end tests at this point. It's almost comical. And we run the end-to-end tests constantly. Through Playwright. All this is it's a web app. And so, no, not really. Because we basically go in and we build the end-to-end test through like a Playwright script, and then they can run remotely. We don't actually set up a headless, or we set headless. I don't actually set up at this point like an actual
But
browser
they're slow.
instance.
So what I was hinting at is that they sort of chew up time as they have to run something. So now
Yes.
you're eating minutes or
Yes.
whatever.
Well,
I have a
but when
auto
you've
scale for my like a
Mhm.
Kubernetes auto scale for the build
Yeah.
jobs. So you can see
Mm.
it like when 3 people just pummel it and put like a bunch of PRs.
Mm.
Now I'm like, instead of running 3 machines, which is what it is overnight, it's generating 20. Now it's gonna like
Oh,
pipe it down after
okay.
half an hour when it's all built, but that
All
that's
right.
real money at some point.
Yeah, it is. Well, we've got other artificial caps on it. It is, you're right. It is not free money. It is money. Um, but dude, I'm like, it is so much fun. I built an entire prototype, which I'm about to start deploying. It was an Android app, an iPhone app, a Mac OS app, and a backend, including an identity service with encrypted files that are stored in S3 and a messaging system and all this other stuff in 3 days, 72 hours. And it was like, and I started with the Android app and was like, okay. Then I started hanging. I got the Android app working, and then I started an iOS agent up, right, Claude Code, and I set it in auto mode, and I said, bring yourself to parity. Do the iOS-y thing, but bring yourself to parity. And so
Until you're
this
done.
thing's looping, getting to parity with the Android app. And by the way, it's running all the tests on the machine because it can instrument the simulator and the emulator. And then once I had all that working, and all of it was just mock data, then I pulled the Android app and I said, go build the API that's going to be part of the backend. And so I basically started from this well-described UI and was able to work my way to a backend and then I knew which features I wanted to add. But it took 72 hours, man. Like it's not a simple thing. It's very complex. And I'm like, God, this is amazing. This is unbelievable.
It's complex because we used to do
Yeah.
fairly, because we used to do fairly involved sets of operations that would take a long time. So you're developing something and you need to, go grab something from some API. Now you're off for 5 minutes looking up some API, figuring out what command to run, running that command, getting some data, and then you like 3 or 4 deep in the stack that you got to keep in your head or sort of writing it down. And now that stuff is gone. Like the AI will just happily do that for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that was never really value add stuff, right? That was stuff that you had to have your head on straight, because if you miss a step or jump, pop the stack back and forget something in the middle, you'd create sort of bugs and issues. But now you can be much more at the meta level. Okay, well, I can observe my app and have the thing draw me boxes and do proper engineering, not like coding, but say, oh,
Mm-hmm.
this shape doesn't look right. What would it take to move the shape a little more this way? Because then that interface becomes cleaner, or that thing.
Yes.
And I found like before there'd be some like really big refactorings that you would do maybe like a few times in your career. That I've done like 6 of these in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
That we would never have time to do. I had this Python thing, hundreds of thousands of lines of code. They needed rewriting in a different library. 3 weeks.
Yeah.
This would have been years worth of work,
Mm-hmm.
and not only is 3 weeks, but haven't had like that many bugs from it. Like you rewrote hundreds of thousands of lines of code, and I had maybe like 1 or 2 little bugs that just turn around and fix.
Is this the thing I worked with you on?
That is the thing you work.
Okay. And what'd you move to? I know you were
So
frustrated with Python.
We moved Graphene, which is a Python GraphQL library, into Strawberry. Because the federation in Graphene is terrible and they haven't updated in a while. So it's basically taking a bunch of code and rechanging all the interfaces to fit similar but not exactly the same. And then after that, we now can support federation, so we can then start chopping the monolith into like smaller bits and pieces that we can put in different places. But
Nice.
3 weeks, dude, it's like a 12-year-old project that we can rewrite most of the backend API in 3 weeks.
We have on our project on Rex, which is one of the projects we've got going on. I went through the code base. Another skill that I can visualize the changes in our code base, right? And We have, by some classification, re-architected or refactored the entire code base 11 times since June. 11. And there's just 4 of us.
Because
It's
code is
like,
cheap. Like before, we
yes,
used to pay attention to architecture because if you got the
right.
architecture wrong, it would take you forever.
You were
It's really
screwed.
expensive to make that mistake.
Yeah.
We got to rearrange this because it's no longer that expensive to make every mistake. And again, you can still screw up in big ways. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
But as long as you don't do the really, really stupid stuff, there's often multiple choices, multiple ways to implement things.
Yeah.
Whereas, again, before we would think about it for a really long time before we jumped in because it was hard to undo. Now, the benefit of doing it in any way, you would get experience. You'd see, does this actually work? You'd learn from it. You'd get product market fit information. And yeah,
Right.
if you need to rewrite it again, cool. Let's go do that a second time. It doesn't matter. It took just $20 in tokens.
Yeah. It's just, it is, like you said, I'm having so much fun. I wake up, some days I wake up and I'm like, I'd like to try to build this type of app. And I will spec it out with Claude and then say, go do it. And I still find Claude making stupid choices. Like Opus 4.7 is amazing. They just launched Opus 4.8 today. I don't know if you've used it.
I haven't tried yet. Or that might have used it and not know it because my
you may have.
code may be just be using it.
The seems good so far. It definitely, yeah, sometimes you get the vibe like the model is different, but the model talks about itself differently. It talks about itself in the first person constantly. Like I noticed 4.7 would be like, I'm going to do this, and then blah 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 blah, and now I may do this. The way that 4.8 talks about itself feels like it thinks it's alive. It's weird.
Richard Dawkins said that he thinks that they're already conscious. So that's a little bit interesting.
I'm reading a book about consciousness right now. It's amazing. It's I'll pull the name up here, and it makes a very, very compelling case. Number one, that trees are conscious but not sentient, and the proof point he gives is that it's a timescale issue. And when you say trees are conscious, it has to do with the roots. But trees can and often do run like rats to get a nitrogen bolus. And so they have been able to show now, but the thing is the time scale is just so much longer. And so, but here's the thing. Now, here's why they say the trees can be conscious, which is that it is the embodiment of the thing and the way that the cells interact at an electromagnetic level, which we've only started to see recently, is where consciousness arises from. And they make a compelling case. It's called A World Appears.
Look.
Yeah, I know. Oh, believe me, I understand. It sounds cuckoo, but it's by this guy Michael Pollan. It's called A World Appears. But there's a very interesting. If embodiment is what it takes to be conscious, then LLMs cannot be conscious. But at the end of the day, we don't know and we never will.
I think my argument goes the other way, which is I think we give humans too much credit because we think we're so much more sophisticated and clever than trees. Like at the end of the day, we're just hunting down 2 or 3 things that might have so much more complicated ways of getting there.
I do a lot. I watch a lot of whale stuff on Instagram, and I'm fully convinced that orcas and blue whales, or orcas and humpback whales, are sentient, and dolphins, like 100%. I believe it. I'm like, there's no way these guys can't be self-aware and know what we are and that we're different. And like they obviously do. So
I've been watching those videos where the orcas will go attack the seal that's sitting on the floe, and just they all like simultaneously crash and throw it in there, and then just brutally murder it. Those are like crazy.
The more entertaining ones are when orcas bring things to people. Will bring them food, try to feed them, and they'll catch.
Is that before or after they ram their boat?
So that, dude, that's like that. Honestly, so the ramming boat thing, if people haven't caught up with it, is in Spain. There's several pods of orcas that have started ramming what's the underneath piece on yachts, on these sailboats. And
keel, I believe, is
no, it's actually not the keel. It's like the support that drops all the way down. I can't remember the name. Anyways, it's integral to the ability of the boat to stay upright while it's
Stabilizer?
under. It's like a stabilizer, yeah. And so there's this group, several groups of orcas that will go break them, and they think that they think it started from one orca that had been hit by one, and but now there's a lot of people saying, "Gosh, this looks a lot like culture," and it's spreading. And so, anyways, dude,
It's a scary
sentience,
thought for little boats.
it is. Oh, it really is. Consciousness and sentience is weird.
Do you think once we have agents messaging each other, they're going to start like spreading good or bad
Our
things to
our
each other
agents,
somehow?
our agents do. We put our agents on a network, and they all started talking to each other, and it was freaky. And I will periodically log in and see that several of my agents have been having a conversation overnight, and I am just like, it. I mean, it literally will make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. It is the weirdest, creepiest thing. And they
On
just,
on your token bill.
on my token bill, yeah, that is true. That is true. We, I found out recently it cost us $4 to generate a PDF.
Mhm. Yeah,
That
I've had that
was,
sometimes where it's like I could have just done that myself and it
yes,
would have been a lot
yes,
cheaper.
yes, indeed.
You ever watch
So,
Murder Robot
you know what? I've
show?
not seen the show, but I read like the first 6 books. Murderbot?
I didn't know there was a book that we
Yeah,
got.
it's all from a series.
But
I actually didn't know it got turned into a TV show. What's it playing
there's
on?
a fun part where I think it was on Apple TV. But without spoiling it, there's a fun part where the robot just starts watching TV shows.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
for entertainment.
Uh-huh.
So like, okay, you go consume TV shows on someone's tokens.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I do remember that part in the books. Um, okay, we are very far afield talking about murder bots, orcas being sentient, and trees being conscious.
It all ties together, Michael.
It does. It does. So what's in the last 6 months, what do you think is what's the biggest takeaway you have? What's the best tool you're using? Like, what are the things you've like been startled by?
So I've been super excited by the whole Gas City Gas Town thing,
Okay.
which is like an agent, basically it's an agent coordination framework with
Hmm.
some special bells and whistles. They have some really interesting formulas of how they do things, but you can have one mayor of the town that you can communicate with, and he can go and just coordinate things across multiple projects.
Hmm.
And it was fascinating because before, the 3 months ago where this became a thing,
Hmm.
you want focus time, right? So you focus on one thing and do that one thing until you shipped it. But that's no longer feasible. So I'm finding myself spreading across 6 or 7 projects, and you go and start this one, start that one, start that one, start that one, and go back, kind of like see what kind of human feedback is needed, and then kind of keep repeating. And you ship some ungodly amount of stuff. It's a little bit more context management and context juggling, and that comes in sort of building your own workflows and building your own tools to help you deal with that.
Hmm.
But I've been super excited. Like I've shipped like 2 really big projects over the past few months, and they're out
Hmm.
and live with actual users, and that's just crazy, mind blowing. But what I'm focusing on is okay, well, there's things at the edges of that are not
Hmm.
currently captured by anything, right? So I get customer support stuff, and I have to look at some of them and figure out what to do with them. Well, can I set an agent on that and like go get the
Hmm.
basic information, and then maybe I'll find an insertion point where I add value.
Hmm.
So I'm trying to figure out where are those points, because it's clear like we're not going to be doing a lot of the things like architecture, maybe that's gone in 6 months. Okay, so then what do we humans do? Like what are we good at? What is the orchestration levels, the insertion points that were needed? Where are the good judgment calls that we make? So I've been
Yes.
focused on that and playing with how does that really work. Can I do a shameless plug?
Yes, please
Um,
do it.
I've also built a tool that you and I may
Hmm.
have talked about a while ago called tmetrics.dev with a
Okay.
with a hyphen in between, which you can go check out. And that the idea behind that tool is looking at high level stats as to how it works with linear. So it goes and pulls in all your data
Hmm.
from linear and sees how stuff flows through your system.
Huh?
So you can find out how quickly it flows, what different points it gets stuck. So I've been using that with teams, and geez, the ramp up that you see post like the February March timeframe is just insane. You went from like
Yes,
shipping
we
like
saw it.
a handful of
Hmm.
things every day, and it's like wee, the thing goes
Our
like all the way up there.
we have seen, so we've been doing full agentic engineering since June of last year. So we've been on it for about a year now. And I think we started around when Claude 3.7 was out. And then really we saw a tipping point for Claude 4 in ChatGPT in GPT-5. That was when we knew this style of engineering would work, because prior to that, it just felt like you were babysitting a bad engineer.
Yeah.
It's like, no, no, that's not what I want you to do. No, that was really stupid. Please don't do this ever. I'm just going to stop the session. We'll start over, right? We every time we get a brand new model capability, a model like in terms of capability that's a step change, we see the output of our projects go through the roof. And so we're seeing the same thing where our output in terms of features and code and everything, it looks like a hockey stick. And,
But the fun part with that, though, is where the bottlenecks go. Because I'm finding this that in a
yes.
few organizations that I work with, the actual consumers of the new features are
Hmm.
getting bottlenecked in consuming all this newness. Like, okay, that's
Oh,
not,
yeah.
I know we've been asking this for 6 months, but we've been asking for these 10 things, and now you ship all 10 at once.
Yeah.
And I can't deal with this because that's way too much
Yep.
stuff. So now we're
You
having to
broke the
think about,
user.
okay, yeah,
You broke the user.
we have to think about, okay, well, can I give you this feature so you realize the benefit without having to do anything about it, right? So,
Yeah.
okay, like that part of your job, you don't have to worry about it anymore because that's taken care of. Now you can focus on more value add things you do over here, and you never have to look at this thing again, as opposed to being something you have to interact with. So you don't even know it happened.
Yeah.
But that's like super crazy, right? You're also seeing other places where we didn't have or need people in a given area, say product management.
Hmm.
Just waiting for that siren to go away.
Was that the fire
And
truck? That was the fire truck.
it's San Francisco, something goes by every few seconds. But now you need someone, okay, we built this feature, but that will need some carrying and feeding. And that's not really an engineering thing. And it's not really end user kind of thing. So we need someone to just wrangle this and see it through. And now we have 20 of these landing every week. So how do we handle that? So there's been some really fun things to focus on.
Yeah. What was your, so I adopted I just told my team, I was like, just show, don't tell. We are show, don't tell. We literally just build it to demonstrate it. And oftentimes what we find is that a single engineer can build a brand new amazing feature in 2, 3, 4 days. And we can show it off, and then we can iterate rapidly. And when other people are like, oh, that's great, but what if it did this, this, this? And so, but we've seen the same thing is we've broken every stage of the company, and we're starting to break the users now where they're like, wait,
I wrote a
we've had
couple,
users. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, we talked with some users with about a couple of specs and saying, hey, we want to do this way. Here's a spec. Can you read it and let me know? And then it takes like 5 or 6 days till they read it and get back to us. Like, you know what? Like, I stopped doing
We
that.
could have
But
just
here's
built
the
it.
thing. We just built it. Did you like this? No? Okay, I'll rewrite it for you.
Yeah. We have started to get notes from our users. Hey, can you guys slow down? The product is changing a lot rapidly. Can you maybe slow down a little bit? And we're over here going, never
Just getting
had the,
started.
oh man, sales is overwhelmed, right? They're like, crap, what new features are there now? Right. And now the users are like, bruh, slow down. But yeah, dude, it's so much fun. It's amazing. The, some of the things, so in terms of finding bottlenecks, I continue to see so we moved through, it's like, okay, how fast can we write the code? Then we moved into this area of how are we managing changes in the code, right? Where it's like, okay, well, your stuff touched mine. How do we fix this easily? And then we got, now, dude, I don't even think about merges and merge conflicts anymore. I, I don't think about
So
it.
someone else's problem. Like, go rebase this.
And that person is named Claude,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's, person's name is Claude. And then we realized, oh, okay, well, our infrastructure is now the problem. So we fixed our infrastructure. And then it was like, our deploy is the problem. Okay, now we've fixed our deploy. And I'm like, what is left?
Well, now you're figuring out of what you want to do, right? Because do you want
Yeah.
to build features that maximize revenue, that maximize profit, that maximize customers, that maximize customer satisfaction? And you have choices because you can probably build all of them. So you can go figure out exactly what your optimization function needs to be and build for that. And it's really nice to have the choice because I could say, okay, here's the portfolio. With again, shameless plug, with Team Metrics, one of the really nice things that I'm able to do is kind of fine tune the amounts of investments that I want to make versus features that I want to build. And I can say, hey guys, we need to be doing these updates. I want to see a little bit of this color showing up in our charts every day. And if not, within a day or two, I can kind of see it appear, not appear. If I see the bugs bubble up and say, hey, like let's go build some more investments and make sure we figure out where these are sourced.
Yeah.
My most common one is if bugs in and bugs out are equal, so you're fixing whatever's coming in, then you can bring your bugs from like 50 to like 0. Like you don't have to have an outstanding set of bugs that you need to be dealing with every day. Just beat the rush once, and then you can just keep them low. And you're just putting the right systems in place, and you have happier users. So
Let me ask you a question. How are you structuring your work? So are you still doing like tickets and small things? Or are you letting the ideas get bigger?
bugs still get a ticket because
Bugs are still tickets.
came in and someone came out. Features, I will no longer take a big feature. If I'm going to do it myself, a big feature will be one ticket, and I will make a spec with the AI, and then that will make me, anything from 3 to 10 PRs, and I will just see it through.
Okay.
If I'm handing off something to someone else, then it has a checkpoint that has to go through me because it's more complicated or something like that. I might break down the tickets or have the AI break down the tickets and kind of like, so I can just track it. Because like something, if I have direct visibility, it's easy to do the PRs in my head. If not, I might have someone else do tickets. So there's some ticket-ish artifact because I want to keep metrics and see what's happening. But I think it's very lightweight nowadays.
Yeah, the what we do now is like I actually give my engineers like extraordinary amounts of flexibility, and I will hand them like these big ideas and say, go build it. Let me know if you have problems. And Miko, the intern, remember Miko?
He's still the intern?
No,
Like a
no,
promotion.
dude, Miko is operating at the level of a senior engineer now. The dude is freaking amazing. I love him with all my heart. So he has been working on our integration frameworks. Okay. And he came to me recently. I said, hey, why don't you go tidy these up? Let's see if we can get these integrations in. And he's like, hey, I want to show you what I built. And so I come, I take a look, and he's like, okay, so here's the basic foundation for how our integrations are going to work. Then, oh, no. I asked him to build a recall integration. Do you know recall AI? We're able to take Rex and bring it into meetings now, right? So it can just take notes and do things. You can actually talk to it as well. Unfortunately, we have to use like a super fast model to make that work, and we're just not doing that right now. So we just more or less have it take notes. And but I said, go get us a recall integration. And so a couple of days later, he goes, let me show you what I built. And he had built the integration as well as all of the billing, as well as administration tabs that will allow us to tune things. And I just sat there and I looked at it and I was like, this guy's not even a year out of college, right? I said, go try it. He built the whole freaking feature, including things like billing, right? So then he goes, hey, I got a couple ideas for integrations. Do you mind if I work on some generalized stuff? And I was like, yeah, go for it, dude. You're killing it. So he goes off, and it took him a couple weeks, right? And he comes back and he built a truly generalized integration system where the user is able to effectively, we handle OAuth and we handle API key, and the agent will go build the integration for the user. This includes things like he added in every single Google endpoint ever.
Nice.
And so, but this had a really bad side effect. So we had
to your Google bill.
No, but our business model is based on tokens. And so one of our salespeople pops up a couple days ago. He goes, hey, this customer has their own Google Gemini API. Can they just plug it in? Miko goes, yeah, they can. I was like, fuck, they can, Miko. Like, what? That's how we make money, dude. No, they can't plug. What are you doing? And I said, can people do this with Claude and with Anthropic and OpenAI? He goes, yeah, they can. Oh my God, no.
Roll back, reverse.
So, anyways, we talked more about it, and I was like, and I said, brother, this is amazing. This is incredible, phenomenal work. You also lost track of the business while you were doing this. Like, please don't accidentally cripple our business when you build things. You know, they
You
kind of
should put
built
that
the
in a
atomic.
skill.
Yeah. I said they kind of built the atomic bomb wondering if they could, and nobody stopped to ask if they should until lots of people died. I was like, let's ask if we should. He was like, yeah, actually, that seems seems
It's not a bad
important. I
idea.
was like, yeah, it's not a bad
You
idea.
definitely need a skill for that.
Oh, what,
This is
the
how we make
integration?
money. Don't do anything
Oh yeah.
that goes against this.
Well, and that's the judgment that engineers need, and it's not the judgment they've always had. Is that
Better get
there's
it real quick because
yeah
there's not much else for them to do at this point.
yeah. So what's your all right? I think we're coming up on like oh we're 45 minutes in. We're good. We're good.
We're gonna make this a 2 hour episode.
God no, I hope not. Okay, so the things that what are the things that keep you up at night? Like when you wake up and you just throw your fists in the air and yell curses. You know, what are the things you're thinking about?
I say it doesn't stress me out, but what are we doing in a year?
Yeah.
Like, how good are
Okay.
these loops gonna get? And
Mhm.
not just you and I, but like, what is everyone in a year? Did you get like a big monolith AIs that are now gonna just consume everything? Probably not, right? Because there's other models that are deploying, so you're gonna get the harnesses that go around like open source or other models that are gonna be able to like level that playing field. So,
Yeah.
uh, you know, do you want to go in that Anthropic or OpenAI IPO? That's a question
Well,
for someone to
so
go answer.
did you read the news about Microsoft and Claude? They've canceled all their Claude budgets because it was costing too much. Uber is experiencing the. I actually took a shot at Uber in one of my reels. I
There's
was
a
like,
couple of articles I read the last couple of days that called BS on that.
"What do you mean?
Because it's like,
Which one?"
well, it was. I think the thrust was yes, it was costing a lot more than the human, but did you see what we shipped? So it's
Right.
like,
So now the Uber one is really interesting because the CTO came out. He was like, "Yeah, man, we blew through our token budget in 4 months. Like we did not expect to do that." Now the COO came out and he had one of the most interesting statements. He said, "We have not found a way to prove that this is increased efficiencies. We seem to be shipping features faster, but we do not know yet by numbers
I think that's
if
big
it's
company
worth it."
problems.
Oh, it is
Having to
100%.
justify that at a large scale. I think the answer is solidly yes, and you're going to need to put the controls around it. Now, I will say some companies like that have had token leaderboards where it's like, okay, to make sure we get
Yeah.
adoption, we will have a token leaderboard, and you want to be on top of that. Well, okay, then you will
So,
blow your token budget in 4 months because you're stupid,
yeah.
right? Maybe
Um,
there should be like a minimum tokens, and then once
did
you
they
get
have,
past a certain
wait.
amount, it just caps out.
Did Uber have a
I
token
don't know if
leaderboard?
Uber had token leaderboards, but I've heard a lot of places that have had token leaderboards, and it's a
Wow,
dumbest idea.
that is an amazing way to set money on
It's like,
fire.
hey, Claude, just write me some recipes and just do that in a loop because I'm gonna be taught with that leaderboard.
So
Okay.
the thing that keeps me up at night is token cost. And so it goes right and dovetails with this. Now, we're arbitraging tokens as part of our business model. And it's like people like the product, they're using it. And then one day I woke up and it was like we recharged your OpenAI account. We recharged your OpenAI account. We recharged your OpenAI account. I'm like, what the fuck? And so we just brought in this intern. He's a young guy named Cole Blacksmith. Cole Blacksmith. I told him, I was like, you better get the name Data Blacksmith. Like, you need to go secure that somewhere, dude. I don't think he has yet. He doesn't know. I'm gonna like dock him $10 as a result. But I kid. So he's from a data analytics background, and he's traditional story. He graduated. As he was graduating, his professor said, "I'm sorry, your degree is useless." And so then he started looking for a job. He hadn't been able to find one. I got told about him through a couple friends, and so we've brought him on. And dude, I told him, I said, I want you to understand token efficiency for me. Please tell me how to do token efficiency. And so he started deep diving into our logs and our token usage and things like that. And, you know, we are finding some of the most interesting things. Like he's there for a few days. He goes, "Hey, why are we using GPT-5.5 to do Tavily searches? Why don't we just put a stupid model on that?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's a good
Because no
question.
one read the code.
Why are we doing this?" Well, at the heart of our agents is just one model. And so you pick the model and the agent just uses that model. And I'd been saying, I was like, we need to be able to pin models so that we can like, do this differently. But now it's like, oh, we're going to have to like actively decide which agents get used or which models get used where. So that's been one thing that I've been like, as I'm looking at token costs start to climb, in a graph that looks a lot like this for a startup that's, riding on a budget. It's very interesting, but yeah, so token efficiency
But
is the
I
thing.
think that's an optimization problem, right? If you look at
It is.
long term for these technologies, that's gonna race to zero at some point.
I do think that Anthropic and OpenAI, not Google, Anthropic and OpenAI are going to find themselves priced as a commodity at some point. Because now that you can run like Qwen 3.5 and DeepSeek V4 on your own hardware, it is probably going to become more efficient to do that. Except
I saw a couple of articles recently, people that tried that, and I think the consensus was it's 5 to 10 times slower, so it is really slow running on your own hardware. And even if you beefed it up to decent hardware that maybe costs tens of thousands of dollars, like a server that's like 20 grand to build,
Okay.
and then the electricity costs are actually quite substantial, and you also need to have pretty high utilization to make the inference cost cheaper, because Anthropic's servers are probably like 100% utilized because they can just scale them as they need to. Yours, okay, like even if I work a 16-hour day, like I can give it some stuff to do at night, there's going to be some idleness. So I think, again, small set of data points here, but the math didn't work out quite yet.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I need to go look for
you
that.
could
That's
see how, like,
interesting.
but that's different. That's just different to say that I could, pull with some other people and rent some servers on the cloud together and, run an inference on the cloud. So we solved the efficiency. Sorry, we solved the utilization problem.
Yeah.
Now, how better
But at
is
what point have you
this
just
model with that
recreated
model better than the other model? Yeah.
Anthropic?
Well, and I think the models are one thing, and there's definitely some
It's
value
harnesses.
add that happens with the models. But I also seen, like, using, say, Gastown, they have some super interesting formulas that you can use. So it will think through and say there's a big feature, a small feature. If there's a big feature, then I want to send it to a design agent. Then the design agent will send it to separate evaluation agents that will look at it from the reliability perspective, the effectiveness perspective, does it solve the problem perspective, and then they'll take that, consolidate it. Then you'll feed that to the implementation agent. Then you'll spill some review agents. So like there's some of these harnesses that sit around it that give it specific guidance of how to do a task that also add value. So I think those though will also get sort of democratized and spread across. So I don't think there is like a super big moat that you put around there, but I also could be naive about this, and there's some other magic sauces that they have figured out that they put in there.
So we've spent a lot of time on our harness design, and the harness is where that's where the efficiency wins are. I don't know if you heard about the Stanford paper that they built what is effectively a self-tuning harness, and they were able to increase the model of they were able to increase the quality of the model 6 times by simply tuning the harness. And so,
Explain a little bit for the audience, because I clearly know
sure.
exactly everything. I've read the paper and I can
Okay.
quote it. Seriously, yeah, tell
All
me
right.
more.
Okay. So do you want me to start with harness or the self-tuning aspect?
Just, I think, describe in general terms what you mean by
Okay.
harness, because I think
Yeah. Okay.
center
So
in the definition there.
Claude Code is a harness. Codex is a harness. The original harnesses were the Chat GPT web app, where you would plug a piece of code in and you'd say, what do I do with this? And it would look at it and then spit something out, right? And
This
so
is
for a,
the agent is an LLM with tools in a loop, right? That's kind of your
yes.
basic
Yeah.
thing.
So the way that we define them, and Chris will probably come hunt me down and tell me I'm wrong, is you've got the model, you've got the what might be the set of tools, you've obviously got the loop, and you've got the execution environment. And that execution, and that's a really hard thing to do. That
And
execution
there's a
environment,
prompt somewhere in there, right, where it says
well,
what
there's a
your job
system,
is.
yeah, there's a system prompt and things like that. Um, what we
But
have
that's like kind of
found,
one agent, right? Because you could have that whole thing
Mhm.
can run again with a different prompt. Now, I'd say that's a different agent, and they maybe have some ways through tools or
Well,
other messaging to communicate.
the harness is like a more generic kind of a thing. It's like it is the car that you put the engine in, right? And so the
Your
harness,
analogy will
it's,
start breaking down really quickly with
of
cars and
course it
engines,
does.
but
My analogies always break down, Thanos. Um, no, but like, okay, let me go to a very specific piece of the harness. Okay. Um, we do not allow our agents to make many tool calls at all. Our agents can make 2 or 3 tool calls, period. Like that's the only tool calls they have available to them. One of those tool calls, though, is to the Python execution environment that they run in. And so what we've effectively done, and then all of the actual tool calls are exposed through the Python execution environment. And so like it's called the agent SDK. If the agent wants to utilize a tool, it knows that it's there, but it has to write Python code to use it. So our agents actually have to express themselves through Python code. And what's really interesting about this is that it builds in an automated efficiency because most of these models are really, really good at Python. And so we are able to get better performance than other agent systems out of our agents because of the fact that really the only thing you can do is write Python.
so
And
so you're
there's an
saying that there's an efficiency that comes from not having because a tool call means I'll output some JSON or whatever,
sure.
and then the harness will run it and give you the results, and then you'll output some more JSON on the tool call, and off we go in a loop, and that's inefficient
Mhm.
because you're going to spin a lot of cycles there. So you're saying just once, write me some Python code that will call all the tools, do the thing, get the result. I'll run it
Mhm.
for you, and then I'll give you the result, and then you can continue from there.
So what we found out real quick that once you start offering an unlimited number of tools to the agents, they get confused.
Yeah, I think that's
And we have through our agent SDK, we have like probably 150 tools at this point. And if we made those available at the system prompt, not only does it absolutely devastate the context window because there's so many words, the agent also gets super confused about, well, what should I be doing here?
And
But
how does the how does the agent know what all the Python libraries that are available to them are without getting confused? Because you're
it
kind of
can
like pushing the problem down a little bit, right?
Yeah, but so there's tooling to say, hey, do we have a tool like this? Yes, we do. Can you get me what it does? So it can start requesting the actual description of the tool. Like we have a very short description, and then in order for it to use it, it has to go request the full description. Once it has the full description, then it knows how to use it. Okay. But it can only use it through the agent SDK. So so number one, our agents can only write Python code. Okay. That's a feature. That's not a bug. They can do everything that you would do on a bash. They actually have a bash prompt. They have a file system, right? They have all these normally things that they can do, but their set of decisions are constrained. And that's the important part. The agents they cannot make too many decisions. Now, one of the things we're looking at is, well, hey, listen, if all our agents need to do is write Python code, can we downscope a model in there? Could we get to a distilled Python model that would do really good job? Is there an efficiency there? Can we have that efficiency? What is the orchestration? What is the layer? What does it look like, right? We obviously want the frontier model doing the reasoning, but what does it look like when it hands that off to this really trim, tight, distilled Python model? And so we have found that the harness is really truthfully the single most important part of the system, at least at this moment. It definitely used to be the model, but that has since shifted over to the harness. And if you want a proof, go use Claude without a harness and get back to me. Let me know what you think. Claude Code is the best harness on the planet at this point. And honestly, there are days I just think, why don't we just run a Claude Code harness? But that's a very expensive harness to run. So
I'll find out how many tokens 4.8 uses very soon.
So, all right, Thanos. Anything else, my friend?
I think we go to a whole episode next time to talk about harnesses.
Yes, let's do it. Let's do it. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming along with Will AI Snap That. As always, my name is Michael Rollins, and I am joined by Thanos, he of the Snapdom. We are so happy to be talking to you again. Thanos, there was nobody in the ether just listening to my voice constantly.
The old episodes are so evergreen.
It was so depressing to know that my tones, my voice, is not caressing the ears of other people. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, goodbye.
That was on the hour on the dot.
Yeah.